Hello, everyone. So, I did want to record a demonstration of both the high contrast and the screen reader accessibility that I've added to the menu as well. So, this will just be a quick demonstration of that. I would recommend that you watch the other video, which I'll also include in the description, to better understand like the functionality and things. But yeah, this game is still a demo. It's still in early development stages, so there's no demo yet. But yeah, so let's see.
Formation button. Adjust battle formation and new stats.
So this is the battle menu on the left, and I will just read the entries.
Machine button. New switch. Configure and test your machines. Exit button. Return to the overworld. Formation button. Adjust battle formation and new stats.
So basically, it's just a very basic menu that allows you to select individual menus.
Empty. Map far left.
This is the formation menu. Let me re-enter it again so you can hear.
Formation empty. Map far left.
And it will read to you what space you have selected, because the formation is essentially like an array where you can place your characters in battle, right? So they have like a front space, back space, etc.
Empty map middle left. Empty map middle right. Empty front middle right. Empty front middle left. Empty map middle left.
So let's go to a character and hear what happens when we go to them.
Empty map middle right. Jungle map far right. Not simulator machine name. Jungle map far right.
Yeah, so one limitation of this UI's design, because of a bunch of awkward quirks with like how the layout works, and if you have feedback, once you're able to take a hold of it, I'd love to hear like how you would personally resolve this. But basically, you can't tab between items on this particular screen. It's not really necessary to function, because if I want to see this stuff on the right, I can just press this. I can press accept, and then I can view it. So it is still available. It's just a little bit different on how to route it, just because of a weird conflict of how I set up the buttons. And the thing about when I set up buttons for these games, right, I do develop the keyboard layout first, but I develop it with the controller layout in mind, because I want the controller experience to be accessible as well. So I try to limit what buttons I'm using to try to have the widest available, range of expression between both the keyboard and the controller input. So let's just keep going. So now we're looking at the sub menu. And by the way, if you want to read off like what the current selected item is or what screen you're in, you can press the F5, F6, or F7 keys right now for default.
Non-domain. Formation submenu current UI. Formation submenu current UI.
F7 reads the last thing that was read off, so that's why it says the same thing. So.
Black stats button, new items button, new rooms button, new character return button, return to the previous menu.
So something real quick about these submenus is that normally in most menus you can select the instructions. I opted to not select the instructions in the submenus just because the instructions are read after the command, and it would require having to basically hold the focus in the menu just to switch to the instructions, and it's just easier this way, I think. I mean, if users complain and want to add that, I can add it, but that's the current design I'm going with right now. So here's the battle stats menu. I'll actually re-enter it again so you can hear.
Stats button, new battle statistics title.
Yeah, so it basically reads, the title object off so you know which menu you have selected. And so this will be a good demonstration of showing the two ways you can basically navigate through a menu. So you can either go up, you can either go through each element up and down like this.
75, 20, 70, 75 wisdom, 25 agility, 10 MP recovery, non-type. This is where the ability description goes. It's displayed on the stats screen. Ability. Non-domain. Becomes black character, lesson and where the new character stats. Press left or right to change character. In battle statistics title.
Or you can also use tab to go between groups. So like if I want to go to the type, I can just press tab twice.
10 MP with a non-type. 10 MP recovery. Battle statistics title. 10 MP with a non-type.
Ta-da! And most UIs like this are organized in such a way where there is grouping embedded into the UI, so you can easily go between different elements.
New character stats.
Or element groups, rather.
Character instructions.
So, like, for example, this element group is, like...
This is where non-type. This is non-domain.
This element group is, the character, their name, their appearance.
He can black curly hair, glasses, and wear a black shirt with a white scarf. Artwork. Stats button. New this character as items button. New held item title.
Items is very similar. I don't have anything selected yet, so...
None. Name. Model. Description. Non-domain. He can black curly hair, glasses, and wear a black shirt. Battle statistics title. Room title.
And we can do the same thing with moves as well.
Defend button. Defend name. Defend the 0 power. 0 MP non-type. Defend default room. Non-domain. He can black curly hair. Press me to set this room title. Held item title. Battle statistics title. Items button. New this character as held.
There's the formation menu. Let's take a... There's the formation menu. Let's take a look at machine.
Machine button. New switch. Compare for duck simulator machine name. An indie game made for duck jam to white duck with a 10 chance for 90 attack miss. If press me to machine detail title. Duck simulator machine name.
And again, because of the weirdness surrounding, like, the fact that tab switches between these menus, I couldn't figure out, like, the best way to tab between groups, so you will have to go individually one for one for this. But, if you press to get to the submenu, you can access everything by groups. Same kind of thing here.
Configure button. Configure the machine state. Test button. Play test the machine. Return the test config switch button. Duck simulator button. Duck simulator press the duck simulator retro game console machine name.
Now, if you want to view, let's say you have an item selected, right? If you want to view a like the details of that item, you can tab out of the group and it will still hold on to the item that you have selected. So, like, for example, if I want to read information about the retro game console.
A retro game console from the 1990s, complete with a copy of the classic title Blue Castle. I heard made over a lot these days. This is an old game console from the 1990s. It has a controller and a game plug in ready to go. Model. 110 attack, 110 defense positive, 90 speed negative effects. For each enemy attacked in game, you press the switch. Configure retro game console button.
See, it selects the retro game console again.
Simulator button.
Retro game console doesn't... Retro Game Console doesn't actually have any settings, so I will just go back to the duck.
Configure button. Configure the enabled feet switch. Enabled nine switch. Enabled beat switch. Enabled body switch.
Funny enough, those instructions are wrong.
It's
actually A. Or it's actually accept or select that changes.
Enable nine switch. Configure button.
Right.
Configure the machine
and then we have
playtest the machine.
We have the playtest of the machine. Now, I will say this: I have been designing the accessibility with this philosophy in mind that I am aiming towards a low vision audience, but I want to try to include as much as possible for completely blind people, because I feel that the more I can do for completely blind people, the more useful tools that people who have low vision have. So, and I'm saying this because this part of the game, this test that I'm about to run, I have not yet screened with my blind testers, and I want to just disclose that I do not consider this part of the game tested as accessible yet, but it does have some features that have been added into the game to try to help. Right, I am a sighted person who has no real, like, important vision loss. My visual issues are more caused by, like, the, my psychological, neurological issues. So if I do have issues with my vision, I don't experience low vision in the same way that, like, somebody who's, like, legally blind does, right? So, with that in mind, I'll just demonstrate this real quick, just to show what I have right now, so that, maybe feedback can be given or something like that. And, yeah.
So this is that game for Duck Jam 2027. It didn't win, but you gotta admit it has got a lot of charm. So this is that game for Duck Jam 2 text box current UI.
Yeah.
This game is a basic platformer. Move left and right with and you can jump with the button. Text box. When you move around, you will hear footsteps. Text box. If you get too close to the edge that you can fall off and you will hear this sound. Text box.
So notice how the tutorial gives all the sound effects that it plays. It's a little timed, a little weird. I need to experiment with the timing, but...
When you jump, it will play this sound. Text box. And when you land, it will play this sound. Text. The pitch of the landing sound changes depending on how high you are. Text. You need to grab a number of magic balls. You can collect them with the button. Text box. Magic balls sound like this when they are falling down. Text box. And when it bounces, it makes this sound. Text box. When the ball is roughly in range, it will alert you with this sound. Text box. Also, if your duck has no legs, it can T-jump, and if it has no beak, it can T-grab balls. Make sure your duck is configured properly before. If it's too late this time, now you know. Knowing in half the battle. I have heard this game is really buggy mode. If you have no body, weird stuff can happen. Text box. If you go out of bounds, you can crash the game, and that causes you to lose all of your stats bonuses. So be careful. Text box. Collect one magic ball.
Oh, give me a second. I don't have the accessibility sounds turned on.
Test button.
I'll need to fix that.
Machine button.
Give me one
Use
second.
graphics button. Adjust sound graphics sound. Use SFX volume. Show one SFX. SFX volume
So-
choice. Adjust SFX volume used for accessibility.
So a little context. In the options menu,
Options. Accessibility sound button. Adjust
there
sound
is
settings
a
for
menu for
accessibility.
there is a menu for accessibility sound.
Max SFX volume choice. Adjust SFX volume used for accessibility.
SFX volume in the accessibility menu corresponds to accessibility sound effects that you normally would not hear in cited
Duck
version.
simulator machine name. Duck simulator test button. Play to collect one magic ball. Great job. Test button. Play test the machine.
So yeah, I feel like there's a lot that could be done to improve the accessibility in that demo. I don't even think that demo is going to be in the final game, but it's just to kind of like... That demo was created mostly to get the machine system kind of like structured and working. So I do think there is definitely improvements that I could make to that accessibility model, but I do also think that that kind of just shows you like the basics of certain structures that I've put in place so that as I design more machines that I can actually implement more more integrated blind accessibility with those components. Now let's return to the components that I feel more confident about, which the menus, right?
Return button. Return to
So-
the previous menu. Duck simulator machine name.
Let's
Machine
go
button. Switch.
to
Configure and test your machine.
let's go to the inventory menu.
Empty item slot.
One thing I am noticing as I record this that I'm going to go through afterwards is I need to make it so that the text-to-speech stops when you close menus. Sometimes it doesn't do that.
Empty item slot. Empty item slot. Empty item slot.
Wow, that's really annoying, isn't it? To go through all these empty item slots and like
Empty
only hear that.
Empty item
Huh?
slot.
But there's a way around this, right? I was recommended this by my friend Travis, by the way. You press a accessibility like toggle button for default. It is Shift,
Game console. Time
and
count.
you
Item
can
slot.
just grab
Ghost reader. Time count. Item slot.
the items that are actually active in the grid. Now, I arranged it as a grid because I think there's value in having like a positional quality to it, and I think that low vision users can still really benefit from this beyond just having it be like a linear list. Like, having it in a 2D space is helpful. The problem is that traversing a 2D space in a digital way for blind people is tedious, right? So, I kind of focused, thanks to Travis's input, I kind of focused the design around like multiple modes of navigation. So like we can go through it like a list
Game count. Reader. Time count. Item slot.
by pressing the Shift key when we move, or we can just navigate the inventory.
Empty items. Ghost reader. Time count. Empty item slot. Game console. Time count. Item slot.
And like the other menus, we can use Tab to view the details.
It's a rare game console that seems like it wouldn't be very useful for anything. Just press to open the item submenu. Game console name. Inventory title. $250 game console. It's a rare game console that press to open the game console name. X time quantity. A black device that looks like a remote controller. It has a meter on the top measuring range from green to red. Model. Inventory title. $250.00 money.
Okay. Oops.
Empty items. Empty ghost reader. Time
Give me
count.
one
Item
second.
slot.
I will show the submenus.
Begin button. New this character as held items. Toss button. Toss any quantity on this item. Return button. Return to the previous menu.
Alright, so basic
No
stuff
reader
here.
name. In button.
Same
New
kind of
reader
thing.
next time. Left device that looks like it has the ability to read energies you could never imagine. Description.
So for this submenu, I decided to focus the focus like content specifically on the item in question to essentially like fixate the user on the item questions, because like the other stuff like the inventory tag and the money, probably not important. Again, I can change it if people want it changed, but that was kind of like my design philosophy.
In
Right.
button. New this character SL item. Confirm it within the ghost reader button.
So there's a slight difference with how this menu actually works from the cited version. This is mostly to help communicate to the player what the function of the menu is, right? So in the original version, there is no button that says confirm equipping the ghost reader on top, right? That just doesn't exist because it's not really necessary. It's communicated through the UI, which I think was evident to sighted people who viewed the last video. But that's not going to be clear to blind people. So I wanted to make sure that when they enter this menu, that it's communicated clearly what is happening, right? And the idea is that as soon as they enter this menu, right,
In button. New this character SL item. Confirm it within the ghost reader button.
they get bombarded with the question, right? And if they just press accept,
None received the ghost reader. Text
one
box.
one button press, they've completed the action. They don't need to navigate. They don't need to like look around to figure out, one, that they're giving an item, and two, that it's the ghost reader, right? However,
In button. New confirm it within
you
the
can
ghost
also
character.
just go through the rest of the menu to kind of see information, right? In fact, I might change this to say
Confirm it within the ghost
confirm
reader button.
equipping the ghost reader to John Doe to even be more like to convey even more information, because I'm realizing I didn't include the character's name. But yeah, you can still navigate this just like every other.
None current ghost reader. Ghost reader. None. 16 attack bonus. Ghost reader. 16 attack bonus. Ghost
I
reader.
should add a that should be called item. That would be a good fix.
None current character. Ghost read 16 attack bonus. 0 defense bonus. 57 0 0 0 MP recovery bonus. None previous character. None next character. Ghost reader name. Export quantity. It has the ability to read energies you could never imagine. Discrete and left device that looks like a remote controller. It has a meter on the top measuring ranges from green to red. Model. Select a character to begin the item to the left or right. Instructions. None current character. None current character. None current character. And left device that looks like a remote controller. It has a meter on the top.
So I
measuring
might
ranges
change
from
the.
green to
I
red.
think I'm gonna
Model.
change the behavior of this a little bit, just to be like to optimize that text, because I think that the character name should be in the confirm equipping the ghost reader text, and also I think that that way I can also, when I switch between the characters, I can just switch to the confirm reading equipping message, so that people can know, oh, it's John Doe or it's Jane Doe or whatever, right?
In button. New this character. Toss button. Toss any quantity on this item for count. Toss how many ghost
So
readers.
toss is a menu that is somewhat incomplete. I kind of threw this one together pretty quick because basically the way that it works is that it switches between two different menus depending on whether you have multiple of the item or not, right? So you can still go between the different parts of
Toss
the
how many for
menu,
count. Toss how many for count.
but the tab doesn't work because it's actually like its own custom thing, and I haven't written that part of it. So I'm gonna delete three of
Three count.
these. So we have.
2 count. 1 count. 2 count. 3 count. 4 count. 1 count. 4 count. 3 count. 2 count. 1 2 3 count.
I'm gonna get rid of three of these so that we can see the other menu.
Toss 3 ghost readers. Text. Toss button. Toss any quantity on this item. Yes. Toss the ghost reader. No button. Yes button.
And similarly, this doesn't have tab
No
function.
button. Toss the ghost reader. Yes button.
So
Toss the ghost reader. 10. Empty item slot.
I might add a sound effect as well for making the toss noise as kind of like a confirmation. So there's the inventory menu. And then here is the bottom menu, which is kind of just like a bunch of information.
Player current location.
So I'm going to skip the
267
map
X email.
until
MPI task.
the
Task
last
name.
part, right? But, so the three other menus are task list, email, and key items, right? And these are just information. So, like,
PD button task task.
this is like for the task list is for like keeping track of like what you need to do.
Roger from. Minimum test test. Minimum test 2. Minimum Roger from. Minimum Roger from. Okay, do not scroll through test. Minimum test. Minimum test 2. Pick up from. Okay, test description. Scroll through
Looks
test.
like I
down,
can't grab the title. I must have forgotten to grab the title. I'll fix that later.
Key item. Replicator journal key item. Test replicator journal key item. Replicator journal name. Journal amount. Green book. Model. Scroll through tests with up or down. Use item with replicator journal. Test key item. Test name. Test key item. Email. Send to look the number out. Name picture email.
This is email. So these are reading the emails individually.
Subject email. Subject. Non-going. Subject summary. Non-go subject. 11/10/1900. This is a test email. If you read this, world is burning. Text
oh
box.
no, the world is burning.
Scroll through emails with up or down. Instruct subject email.
All right.
Subject.
So finally, here's the map. This is
267x143y.
here's the map. This is kind of like the most complicated part that I've built so far. In terms of the user interface, it's still a work in progress. And again, any suggestions are welcome.
256x126y.
So basically, when you move around, when you let go, it tells you the coordinates.
246x137y. 234x137y. 225x131y.
And if you settle on an item, it will tell you what it is.
200 mistake station. 220x180y. Mistake station of orange and blue MTBA line.
Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I see all the information on the right of the screen? Well, you can do that by pressing accept.
Location list button. New
And then
list.
you can just see those parts normally.
Mistake station name. Return button. Return to the map. Mistake station name. Mistake station of orange and blue MTBA line. Downtown neighborhood. Street. 219x coordinate. 120y coordinate. Location list button. New location list.
Simple stuff, really. And what this screen currently allows you to do, I will be adding a fast travel option later, but what this screen will allow you to do is it will allow you to... It will allow you to bounce through different locations. So here, let me show you.
Location list button. New location list. Orange line button. Press me to new orange line location. Red line button. Blue line button. Green line button. Player location button. Press
So
me
first,
to
let's show how the player
position.
location works.
Player current location. 219x120y.
So it just zooms right to the player location as soon as you click player location, right?
Green line, blue line, red line, orange line button. Press me to Forest Film Station button. Press
But
me to
I
move
can
the cursor
also
to Forest
select
Film
any
Station.
of these stations. So let's pick Ruggles Station.
Green Street Station button. Stony Brook Station button. Jackson Square Station button. Roxbury Crossing Rudholm Station button. Press Rudholm Station. 267x143y. Rudholm Station on orange MTBA line. Massachusetts Map Station button. Press the Map Station. 164x171y. The Map Station on orange MTBA line.
So yeah,
this is
what I've produced so far in terms of the low vision accessibility. We also have an invert option. If you want to have an inverted color scheme, it works for both high contrast mode and for regular mode. If you really want to, like, I think that the inverted mode for non-high contrast is kind of more an aesthetic choice. But if you like it and it works for you, then perfect. You know. So. Anyways, that is the update there. So I hope you enjoyed that.